Don't touch him. If you touch him, you die." The scream tore through the silence of the spa lobby, shattering the peaceful atmosphere I had spent the last hour cultivating with jasmine incense and low-fidelity jazz. I dropped the bottle of amber oil I was holding. It smashed against the marble floor, the scent of cedarwood exploding into the air, but no one looked at me. They were looking at the monster who had just crashed through the glass double doors. He was surrounded by 4 men, giants really, wearing suits that cost more than my entire tuition for the year. But the man in the center, he was the one who terrified me. He was being dragged, half carried, his feet scuffing against the pristine tiles. He was tall, devastatingly tall, with jet black hair falling over eyes that were rolled back in his head. But it was the cold that hit me first. It wasn't a draft from the open door. It was a physical wave of freezing air radiating off his body. It rolled across the floor like dry ice fog, instantly killing the humidity of the spa. "Get him to the VIP room." "No," one of the guards shouted, his voice cracking with panic. He had a gun holstered under his arm, visible as he grappled with the weight of the dying man. I should have run. My student visa was already precarious. I was just a part-time chemist, mixing oils and salts for the wealthy wives of Gangnam. I wasn't supposed to see this. I wasn't supposed to be here. I backed away, my heels crunching on the broken glass of the cedarwood oil, trying to fade into the shadows behind the reception desk. He's seizing. The group collapsed in the center of the lobby. They couldn't make it to the rooms. The man, the pale, beautiful, terrifying man, hit the floor hard. His body arched, his spine bowing in an impossible curve. He was convulsing, but not like an epileptic. It was violent, mechanical, like his body was trying to tear itself apart from the inside. And he was turning blue. Literally blue. Frost was beginning to form on his eyelashes. "The serum!" The lead guard roared, ripping open a silver case. "Give him the suppressant." "I can't find a vein." "He's too cold, his blood is thickening." They were going to kill him. I could see it. They were panicking, trying to force a needle into a man whose circulatory system was shutting down. I didn't know who he was, but I knew chemistry. And I knew that if they injected a suppressant into a system that was already hypothermic, they would stop his heart instantly. I didn't decide to move. My legs just did it. "Stop!" I yelled, stepping out from behind the desk. "Don't inject him. You'll kill him." For guns turned on me instantly. The silence that followed was louder than the storm outside. I held my hands up, my dark skin looking stark against the white sleeves of my uniform. I was trembling, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, but I couldn't look away from the man on the floor. "Who are you?" The lead guard snarled, the barrel of his silencer leveled at my forehead. "Turn around. Walk away. Or I put a bullet in your brain right now." "He's hypothermic," I said, my voice shaking, but my words fast. "Look at the frost on his skin. His blood is sludge. If you push a depressant now, his heart creates a blockage. He dies in 10 seconds. The guard hesitated. He looked down at his boss, then back at me. "He's burning up. The fever." "It's a paradoxical reaction," I snapped, the scientist in me overriding the coward. "He feels hot to you?" "No. Touch him. Really touch him." The guard ripped his glove off and placed a hand on the man's neck. He recoiled instantly, swearing in Korean. "It's like touching dry ice." "Let me help," I whispered. I have warming oils. I have thermal blankets in the back. Please." The man on the floor let out a sound that I will never forget. It wasn't a moan. It was a growl. A low, guttural vibration that sounded like a predator trapped in a cage. His eyes snapped open. They were black. Entirely black. No whites, just a void of pain and violence. "Let her," he rasped. The guard lowered the gun, sweat dripping down his temple. "You have 30 seconds. If he dies, you die with him." I rushed forward, dropping to my knees beside him. Up close, he was devastating. High cheekbones, sharp jaw, skin that looked like porcelain, but dead porcelain. He was vibrating with cold. I could feel it through the floor. It bit into my knees. "I'm going to touch you," I whispered, my hands hovering over his chest. "I need to check your heart rate." I didn't wait for permission. I placed my palms flat against the open collar of his silk shirt, directly onto his bare skin. The reaction was instantaneous. It was like a thunderclap. The moment my skin made contact with his back arched off the floor again. He gasped, a jagged intake of breath that sounded like he was drowning and had just broken the surface. I gasped too. It hurt. He was so cold it burned, like grabbing a frozen metal pole in the dead of winter. But beneath the ice, I felt something else. A pull. A magnetic, biological slam that made my vision blur. "What did you do?" The guard shouted, stepping forward. "Quiet." The man on the floor roared. His voice was stronger now. The frost on his eyelashes melted instantly, turning into water droplets that ran down his temples. He didn't pull away from me. In fact, his hand, large, veiny, and trembling, shot up and grabbed my wrist. His grip was bruising. He pulled my hand harder against his chest, right over his heart. Thump thump, thump thump. I could feel his heart rate stabilizing under my palm. It was slowing down, finding a rhythm. The blue tint was fading from his lips, replaced by a flush of color. He looked at me, really looked at me. His eyes were clearing, the whites returning, focusing on my face with an intensity that made me want to run and hide. He looked at my braids, my lips, the deep brown of my skin where his pale fingers were digging into my wrist. "Warm," he whispered. It wasn't a compliment. It sounded like a prayer. "You are so warm." I need to get the thermal blanket," I stammered, trying to pull my hand away. "No." He tightened his grip. He dragged me closer until my chest was almost touching his. He buried his face into the crook of my elbow, inhaling deeply. "Don't move. Do not move." The guards stood around us, confused, weapons lowered but ready. They were watching their boss, the most dangerous man in Seoul, clutching a terrifyingly ordinary Nigerian student like she was an oxygen tank. I stayed there for 10 minutes. My knees were aching, my arm was going numb from his grip, but I didn't dare breathe. Every time I shifted, he let out a low, warning growl, his nose pressing harder against my pulse point. I could feel his body temperature rising, leaching the heat from me. It was exhausting. It felt like I was running a marathon just by sitting still. Finally, he sat up. He didn't let go of my wrist. He sat up, pushing his hair back from his forehead, looking around the lobby with cold, calculated precision. The monster was back in the cage. He was composed, regal, and terrifying. He looked at the lead guard. "Prepare the car." "Sir, we should go to the hospital." "Home," he said. The word had a finality to it that brokered no argument. Then he turned his head slowly, his dark eyes locking onto mine. "And she comes with us." My stomach dropped. No, wait. I helped you. I saved you. I have to finish my shift. My boss? Your boss will be compensated, he said smoothly. His voice was deep, velvet wrapped around a razor blade. He stood up, pulling me up with him. I stumbled, and he caught me by the waist. His hand was large, spanning almost the entire width of my back. "You have a debt, don't you? Student loans? A visa sponsorship that is expiring in 3 months?" I froze. "How do you know that?" "I know everything that happens in my city," he murmured, leaning down so his lips brushed my ear. "You saved my life, little chemist. But you also tasted my weakness. You think I can let you walk out that door?" "I won't tell anyone," I pleaded, tears stinging my eyes. "I swear." "I know you won't," he said. He signaled to the guards. 2 of them stepped forward, flanking me. "Because you'll be with me." Before we continue this descent into the penthouse, if you are enjoying this story, please take a second to hit that like button. It helps us bring more dark, twisted tales to you. And if you want to know what happens to Ada, make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss the notification for the next part. "Please," I whispered, panic rising in my throat as they guided me toward the black SUV waiting in the rain. "This is kidnapping." He stopped at the door. The rain was coming down hard, neon lights reflecting off the wet pavement. He didn't look back at me, but his hand slid down my arm, interlocking his fingers with mine. "Kidnapping is such an ugly word," he said softly. "Think of it as an exclusive employment contract. You have something I need, and I take what I need." He pulled me into the darkness of the car. The leather seats were cold, but he wasn't. He was burning now. And as the door slammed shut, sealing me in with him, I realized the terrifying truth. He wasn't holding my hand to keep me from running. He was holding my hand because if he let go, he would freeze again. The drive was silent. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see where we were going, but I knew the feeling of the car climbing. We were heading up into the hills. Hanamdong, the UN village, where the untouchables lived. I sat pressed against the door, as far away from him as possible. But the interior of the car was small. I could smell him. Beneath the metallic scent of sickness and the sterile smell of the spa, he smelled like rain and expensive whiskey. He was watching me. I could feel his gaze on the side of my face. "What is your name?" he asked. He wasn't looking at his phone or his guards. He was studying me like a specimen under a microscope. "Ada," I whispered. "Ada," he repeated. The way he said it, rolling the vowels in his mouth, made my skin prickle. "I am Kang Seo-Joon," I gasped. I knew that name. Everyone in Korea knew that name. His family owned half the pharmaceutical patents in the country, the other half of his business. Well, that was the part people only whispered about. "You're the heir to the Kang Syndicate," I said, my voice barely audible. "I am the king," he corrected gently. He reached across the seat. I flinched, but he didn't strike me. He just took a lock of my braid between his fingers, rubbing the synthetic texture against his thumb. "And you, Ada. You are the first thing in 10 years that has made me feel warm." The car came to a smooth stop. The doors opened. We weren't outside an apartment building. We were inside a private underground garage that looked more like a museum. "Come," he said. "And if I refuse?" He smiled. It was a small, terrifying thing that didn't reach his eyes. "Then I will have to carry you. And I think we both know that once I have you in my arms, I might not want to put you down." I got out of the car. The elevator ride was swift, agonizingly silent. When the doors opened, I stepped into a world of glass and shadows. His penthouse was massive, a brutalist masterpiece of concrete and dark wood, overlooking the entire glittering city of Seoul. But it was cold, freezing cold. The air conditioning was blasting at a temperature that made me wrap my arms around myself instantly. "Why is it so cold?" I asked, my teeth chattering. "Because," he said, walking to a minibar and pouring a glass of amber liquid. His hands were shaking again. The tremor was back. My body overheats when I am agitated. I need the cold to think. But the cold kills me. He turned to me. He took a sip of the drink, his eyes darkening. "Take off your coat, Ada." "What?" I stepped back. "The coat," he said, putting the glass down. "The fabric is thick. It blocks the heat." He took a step toward me, then another. He was crossing the room like a wolf stalking a deer. "I am not one of your girls," I said, backing up until I hit the cold glass of the window. "I am a scientist. I am a person." "I know," he said. He was standing right in front of me now. He loomed over me, blocking out the city lights. "If you were just a girl, you wouldn't be here. You are the antidote." He reached out and placed his hands on my waist. The heat of his palm seeped through my uniform instantly. He groaned, his head dropping forward until his forehead rested against mine. "Please," he whispered, the command gone, replaced by raw, desperate hunger. "Just stay still. The rage is coming back. I can feel it. If you run, I will break everything in this room, including myself." I froze. I didn't push him away. I couldn't. Because in that moment, the monster wasn't looking at me with lust. He was looking at me with fear. And that was infinitely more dangerous. He didn't move for a long time. We stood there, suspended in the silence of the penthouse, my back pressed against the freezing glass, his forehead resting heavily against mine. I could feel the tremors in his body slowly subsiding, draining away like water down a drain, replaced by a heavy, exhausted stillness. "Better," he breathed. The word brushed against my lips. He was too close. Much too close. The ice is receding. I tried to push him away, my hands flat against his chest. It was like pushing against a marble statue. "You need a doctor, Mr. Kong." not a human heat pack. He pulled back just enough to look at me. His eyes were heavy-lidded, rimmed with red, but the demonic blackness was gone. Now, they were just dark, bottomless pools of exhaustion. "Doctors have needles," he murmured, his thumb tracing the line of my jaw. His skin was cooling down now that the crisis had passed, settling into a temperature that felt dangerously comfortable. "Needles carry the serum. The serum brings the cold. You bring the fire." He stepped back, and I immediately missed the warmth, though I hated myself for it. He walked over to a sleek, black console table and picked up a tablet. He tapped the screen a few times, his movements precise and sharp again. "Your tuition is paid," he said, not looking up. "The 60 million won debt your father left behind in Lagos? Gone. Your visa? I've switched it to a spousal residency permit. It's permanent." The air left my lungs. "What?" "I bought your life, Ada," he said, turning the tablet around to show me the bank transfer receipts. "It was cheap. Embarrassingly cheap for something so valuable. You can't do that." I shouted, stepping forward. "You can't just pay off my life and expect to own me. That's slavery." "It's employment," he corrected, tossing the tablet onto the sofa. "High risk, high reward employment. You have one job. Keep me stable. Keep me sane. In return, you live like a queen. You want to send money home to your mother? Done. You want to open your own lab? Done. But you stay here. And if I leave?" He walked toward me again. This time, there was no desperation in his walk, only a predatory grace. He stopped inches from me, looking down at the braids framing my face. "Then the creditors come back. The visa is revoked. And I will burn this city to the ground to find you." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Do not test me, Ada. I am a man who is constantly freezing to death. I have no patience for games." I stared at him. I hated him. I feared him. But as I looked at the receipt on the screen, the freedom from the crushing debt that had been drowning my family for years, I hesitated. And he saw it. "Good," he said. "Now, come with me." "Where?" "To bed." My heart stopped. "I am not sleeping with you." He laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "Get that look off your face. I don't have the energy to ravish you, and even if I did, touching you for pleasure right now might actually kill me. My system is too volatile." He turned and walked toward a massive set of double doors. "I need you to sleep next to me. I drop into hypothermia fastest during REM sleep. I need a heat source." I followed him. I didn't know why. Maybe it was the gun I knew his guards had outside, or maybe it was the way his shoulders slumped slightly when he thought I wasn't looking. The bedroom was cavernous. The walls were gray stone. The bed was a massive platform of black silk and velvet. It looked less like a place to sleep and more like a sacrificial altar. He started unbuttoning his shirt. "Turn around," I said quickly, spinning on my heel. "I have nothing you haven't seen in anatomy class," he muttered, but I heard the rustle of fabric. "You can keep your clothes on. In fact, please do. Direct skin contact for too long might cause a spike in my cortisol. Just lie down." I turned back. He was wearing loose silk pajama bottoms, his chest bare. The scars I had seen earlier were stark white against his pale skin, chemical burns, I realized. Marks from the serums. I climbed onto the bed, staying on the extreme edge, curled into a ball. He lay down in the center, on his back, staring at the ceiling. "Closer," he commanded. I shimmied a few inches. "Ada." His voice was a warning. "If I wake up shivering, I will be very unpleasant. Come here." I gritted my teeth and moved until my back was pressed against his side. He sighed a long, broken sound of relief. Immediately, his arm came around my waist. It wasn't romantic. It was like a clamp. He pulled me backward until I was flush against him, spooning me. His face buried itself in my hair. "Your hair smells like shea butter and vanilla," he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. "Better than the chemicals. So much better." I lay there, stiff as a board, feeling the steady thrum of his heart against my spine. I was sleeping in the bed of a monster who had bought me, a monster who was currently holding me like a teddy bear because he was afraid of the cold. I didn't sleep that night. I listened to him breathe. Before I tell you what happens the next morning, if you are feeling the tension in this room, hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started, and trust me, the heat is about to go way up. You don't want to miss the notification when the real danger begins. Morning came with gray light filtering through the blackout curtains. When I woke up, the bed was empty. The spot where he had been was cold. I sat up, checking my clothes. Everything was in place. I was safe. Good morning, Miss Ada. I jumped. A woman in a sharp gray suit was standing by the door. She looked to be in her 50s, her hair pulled back in a severe bun. She held a tray with breakfast, steamed rice, soup, and, oddly, a plate of fried plantains. Mr. Kang left for a meeting, she said, setting the tray down. He instructed the chef to prepare something familiar for you. He said you need to keep your strength up. I want to go home, I said, swinging my legs off the bed. This is your home now, she said simply. I am Mrs. Choi. I manage the household. Your wardrobe has been updated. The bathroom is stocked with the oils you prefer. Please eat. She turned to leave. Is the door locked? I asked. She stopped. The elevator requires a biometric scan. Mr. Kang's handprint. Or yours, once he registers you. Until then, you are safe here. Safe. That was the word they kept using. I spent the day exploring my prison. It was luxurious, yes. There was a library filled with rare books, a gym, a spa that rivaled the one I worked at. But every window was sealed. Every exit had a keypad. I found the lab in the afternoon. It was tucked behind a hidden door in the library. It wasn't a meth lab, it was a high-tech pharmaceutical facility. Beakers, centrifuges, and rows of vials filled with a glowing blue liquid. I walked over to a microscope. There were notes on the table. Handwriting that was jagged and rushed. Subject temperature dropping. Cognitive function declining. Rage centers of the amygdala overactive. He was testing on himself. Curious? I spun around. Seo-Joon was leaning against the doorframe. He looked different than last night. He was wearing a sharp, navy suit, his hair perfectly styled. He looked like the CEO he was supposed to be. But his eyes, they were watching me with a hunger that made my knees weak. You're killing yourself, I said, pointing at the vials. This formula, it's stripping the myelin off your nerves. That's why you're cold. You're destroying your body's ability to regulate temperature. I know, he said, walking into the room. But it gives me the strength to hold the city. A fair trade. He stopped in front of me. He reached out and took my hand, lifting it to his face. He didn't kiss it. He just pressed his cheek against my palm, closing his eyes. You smell like anxiety today, he murmured. And anger. I am angry, I said, trying to pull my hand away. He didn't let go. You locked me in here. I protected you, he corrected, opening his eyes. Do you know what happened at the spa after we left? The men who were chasing me. They killed the receptionist. They were looking for witnesses. My blood ran cold. Misun? She's dead? They would have killed you too, he said, his voice void of emotion. Because you touched me. Because you saw me weak. In my world, Ada, weakness is a death sentence. By keeping you here, I am keeping you alive. He stepped closer, backing me against the lab table. His hands went to my waist, gripping the silk of the dress Mrs. Choi had left for me. But there is a rule, he said, his voice dropping an octave. If you stay here, if you let me protect you, you cannot touch anyone else. No one. Why? I breathed. Because, he growled, leaning down until his lips were inches from mine. Your scent is my anchor. If you let another man touch you, if you let his smell mix with yours, the chemical balance is ruined. I will reject it. And if I reject you, I will freeze. He tightened his grip, pulling me flush against him. You are mine, Ada. Biologically, chemically, irrevocably. Do you understand? I looked up at him. I should have slapped him. I should have fought. But the heat coming off him was intoxicating. And God help me, the look in his eyes wasn't just possession. It was desperation. I understand, I whispered. Good. He finally released me, stepping back and adjusting his cuffs. Get dressed for dinner. I'm tired of eating alone. As he walked out, leaving me trembling in the lab, I realized something. He wasn't just addicted to my body heat. He was addicted to the control. And I was starting to wonder, how long until I became addicted to him? Drop a comment below. Do you think Ada should try to escape, or is she safer in the cage with the monster? Let me know what you would do. 2 weeks. That's how long it took for the fear to turn into something else. Something heavier. Something darker. We fell into a rhythm, Seo-Joon and I. A routine that was as intoxicating as it was terrified. During the day, the penthouse was silent. I spent my hours in the library or the lab, trying to fix the chemical imbalance in his serum, trying to find a way to keep him warm without destroying his mind. But the nights were the cage. And I was beginning to realize that I didn't want the door to open. Every evening at 9 p.m. sharp, he would return. Sometimes he was covered in blood that wasn't his. Sometimes he smelled like gunpowder and ozone. He would walk through the door, his eyes black with exhaustion, his skin radiating that deadly chill. And he would come straight to me. He didn't speak. He would just collapse onto the sofa, pulling me down with him. He would bury his face in the curve of my neck, his nose pressing against my pulse point, inhaling deep, shuddering breaths. I stopped fighting him. I stopped flinching. Instead, my hands started finding their own way. I would weave my fingers through his jet black hair, scratching lightly against his scalp. I would feel the tension leave his massive shoulders. I would feel the ice in his veins melt into a feverish heat that seeped into my own bones. He was becoming addicted to me. But God help me, I was becoming addicted to being needed. One rainy Tuesday, he didn't come home at 9. I was in the living room, pacing. The silence of the penthouse was usually comforting, but tonight it felt heavy, oppressive. Mrs. Choi had gone home for the night. I was alone. Then, the elevator chimed. My heart leaped. I turned, a smile I couldn't suppress forming on my lips until the doors opened. It wasn't Seo-Joon. 3 men walked in. They weren't the usual guards. They wore leather jackets, dripping with rain, and they didn't look like they belonged in a boardroom. The man in front had a scar running through his eyebrow and a smile that made my skin crawl. So he drawled, looking around the room before his eyes landed on me. This is the rumor. I took a step back, my hand finding the marble edge of the kitchen island. Who are you? How did you get in here? Biometrics are easy to bypass when you have the chairman's override codes, he said, stepping into the room. He didn't take off his boots. He tracked mud onto the pristine white rug. In Minho, Seo-Joon's cousin, though we don't exchange Christmas cards. He walked toward me. The other 2 men fanned out, blocking the exits. Mr. Kang isn't here, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You should leave. I know he's not here. That's why I came. Minho stopped 3 feet away. He sniffed the air, a look of mock confusion on his face. I heard he was keeping a pet, a foreign heater to keep his blood pumping. I wanted to see if she was worth the trouble. He reached out. Don't, I warned. He ignored me. His hand, rough and smelling of stale tobacco, shot out and grabbed a handful of my braids. He yanked, not hard enough to rip them, but hard enough to force my head back. Pretty, he sneered, leaning into my personal space. But you look expensive. What makes you so special, huh? Does he like the way you scream? Let go of me, I hissed, grabbing his wrist. Or what? He laughed. You'll call the Ice Prince? He's busy dealing with a fire we started in the warehouse district. He won't be back for hours. He leaned closer, his free hand drifting down to my waist. Maybe I should see if you can keep me warm. The elevator chimed again. Minho froze. His hand was still in my hair. His fingers were still digging into my waist. The doors didn't slide open. They were forced open. Kang Seo-Joon stood there. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket. His white shirt was soaked through with rain and blood. He wasn't looking at Minho. He was looking at Minho's hand on my waist. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees in a single second. I felt it. The air conditioner vents rattled as the pressure in the room changed. Let her go. The voice wasn't human. It was a subsonic vibration that shook the glass windows. Minho dropped his hand instantly, stepping back, his arrogance evaporating into pure terror. Seo-Joon, I was just checking security. The chairman sent me. Seo-Joon didn't walk. He blurred. 1 second, he was by the elevator. The next, he had Minho by the throat, lifting him a full foot off the ground. There was a sickening crunch as Minho slammed into the wall, cracking the plaster. I gave an order, Seo-Joon whispered, his face inches from Minho's turning purple face. I said no one touches her. No one breathes the same air as her. I didn't. Minho choked. You contaminated her, Seo-Joon snarled. He threw Minho across the room like a rag doll. The man crashed into the coffee table, glass shattering everywhere. The other two men didn't move. They were paralyzed by the sheer, overwhelming aura of death radiating from their boss. Get him out, Seo-Joon said, not looking back. If he is still in my city by sunrise, I will carve the apology out of his chest. The men scrambled, dragging the groaning Minho into the elevator. The doors closed. Silence returned. But it was a violent silence. Seo-Joon stood in the center of the room, his chest heaving. He was shaking. The hypothermia was setting in, triggered by the rage. Frost was beginning to creep up the damp sleeves of his shirt. Seo-Joon, I whispered, stepping toward him. He flinched. He held up a hand to stop me. Don't. You're freezing, I said. Let me. He touched you, he said, his voice broken. He looked at me, his eyes wide and wild. He put his hands on your waist. He put his filth in your hair. I can smell him on you. He looked like he was going to be sick. It's just smoke, I said soothingly, walking through the broken glass to get to him. I'm fine. He didn't hurt me. He tainted you. Seo-Joon roared, grabbing his own hair. I can't be near you if you smell like him. But I can't breathe if I'm not near you. He was spiraling. The cold was making him irrational. He swayed, his knees buckling. I caught him. He was freezing. It was like catching a block of ice. I wrapped my arms around his waist, holding him up. Then we washed it off. He looked down at me, confusion warring with the madness in his eyes. What? We wash it off, I repeated firmly. Come. If you are holding your breath right now, you are not alone. This is the moment everything changes. Before we step into the bathroom, make sure you've liked this video. It helps the algorithm find more people who love the darkness as much as we do. I led him to the master bathroom. It was a massive space of black marble and gold fixtures. I turned on the shower, cranking the heat up as high as it would go. Steam instantly filled the room, curling around us like fog. Get in, I said. He stood there, staring at me, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. He couldn't move. His buttons were too small for his frozen fingers to manage. I didn't think. I just acted. I reached out and undid the top button of his soaked shirt. Then the second. Then the third. He watched my hands, his breathing ragged. I peeled the wet fabric off his shoulders, letting it drop to the floor. His skin was pale blue, covered in goosebumps, the scars on his chest standing out in stark relief. You too, he chattered, his jaw locking. Your dress. He touched it. I hesitated for only a second. Then I unzipped the back of my dress and let it pool at my feet. I stood before him in my underwear, the steam glistening on my dark skin. He didn't look at my body with lust. He looked at me like I was a fire in a snowstorm. I took his hand and pulled him under the spray. The hot water hit us like a physical blow. He gasped, his head falling back against the tiled wall. I grabbed the bar of scented soap, sandalwood and oud, the scent he loved, and lathered it between my hands. Where did he touch you? Seo-Joon asked. His voice was raw, mixing with the sound of the falling water. Here, I whispered, touching my waist. He pushed my hands away. Let me. He took the soap. His hands were shaking, but as the hot water warmed him, the tremors began to fade. He knelt before me. The heir to the empire, the killer, the monster, was on his knees in the shower. He lathered my waist, scrubbing the skin where Minho's hand had been. He scrubbed hard, almost too hard, as if he was trying to erase the memory of the touch from my very cells. Mine, he muttered against my stomach. The vibration of his voice traveled through my skin. Only mine. He moved up. He washed my arms, my neck. He stood up, towering over me, the water plastering his hair to his forehead. He reached for my braids. He touched your hair, he said softly. "You can't wash braids," I whispered, looking up into his eyes. The blackness was gone. They were brown again. Warm, molten brown. "Then I will cover his scent with mine," he said. He leaned down. He didn't kiss me. Not on the lips. He buried his face in my hair, rubbing his cheek against the braids, nuzzling into my scalp. He wrapped his arms around me, pulling me so close that there was no air left between us. The water poured over us, steam rising, the smell of sandalwood filling the small glass box. "Ada," he groaned against my ear. "I'm burning." "Good," I whispered, wrapping my arms around his neck, holding him tight. "Burn." And for the first time, I didn't want to let go. We stood there until the water ran cold. When we finally stepped out, wrapped in towels, the dynamic had shifted. The line in the sand was gone. He carried me to the bed. He didn't ask this time. He just lifted me up. He laid me down on the black sheets and climbed in beside me, pulling the duvet over us. "Tomorrow," he whispered into the darkness, his arm heavy across my waist, "I'm going to teach you how to shoot." "Why?" I asked sleepily, the adrenaline finally fading. "Because," he said, pressing a kiss to the back of my shoulder, his first real kiss, "I can't kill everyone in the world. And I have a feeling you're going to be the reason I have to try." I fell asleep with his heat seeping into my back. But deep down, I knew he was right. The world wasn't going to let us be. The chairman, Minho, the police, they were all coming. And I wasn't just a chemist anymore. I was the queen of the Ice Kingdom. And it was time I learned how to rule. If you are hooked on this story, please hit that like button. It helps us bring more dark romance to you. And make sure you are subscribed with the notification bell turned on, because part 2 is coming very soon, and trust me, you are not ready for the highway scene. Before you go, drop a comment below. Do you think Ada is strong enough to pull the trigger when the time comes? Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, stay warm.